Like to call the Groseal Downtown Development Authority meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Porcelli, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is roll call. Mr. Moran is here. Supervisor Porcelli?
Here.
Mr. Anderson? Ms. Armiak is excused. Ms. Pusak?
Here.
Mr. Ranley is excused. Ms. Stanko? Here. Ms. Karn? And Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Next item, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Pusak, supported by Mr. Jacobson to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is presentations. Any presentations today, Ross? Nope. Then we'll move on to our next item, which is the approval of the minutes of the October 24th, 2024 meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at those.
I don't mean to pick nits, but I mean, like, under roll call, should it have check marks by who was here?
Yes. That is correct.
I know I wasn't.
Yeah, no, I'll go through last in October's and the previous minutes from, I guess, the past couple of years I've been working here to make sure that that's accurately reflected, so thank you for that.
I just always assume that the top part where it says present accounts for who attended. You know, because it says present and then underneath it says excused. So
Yeah,
I just always assume that that
With
was.
better eyes. There you go.
Oh, I was not here, so.
yeah. The way this populates, I'm sorry, this is an issue every single time. So I apologize for that, but I will look into that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Jacobson, supported by Ms. Stanko to approve the minutes as submitted with the changes suggested by Commissioner Pusak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our financial update. First item is the approval of the October 2024 financial report. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those. Ross, anything unusual in
Nope.
either month report you don't want to
No,
point
in
out?
neither month. In November, you'll see it's pretty low. I didn't do a whole lot of spending in November, so. Right.
The decorations look nice. I mean, between the corn stalks and now all the lighting, it looks
Oh.
really nice.
Thanks.
Money well spent.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Pusak, supported by Mr. Jacobson to approve the October 2024 financial report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the November 2024 financial report. And Ross, you said you have nothing special to point out in that for November?
Nope.
Anyone have any comments or questions? Financial report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Our next item is a discussion item, and that is the RAP grant overview. Ross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you all know, and what a lot of the agenda takes up tonight, we are applying for this grant for Lions Park, requesting approximately $500,000. So because we are sending a recommendation to the board for an interdepartmental loan, which I'll get into later, I did just kind of want to walk through what the grant is, what consists of the grant. And also, we have an agenda item for grant writing services with Smith Group. So I kind of wanted to talk about how they kind of fit into the equation too. So This is a place-based infrastructure grant, which is that's what Lions Park is. It's to enhance a public space, and it's primarily for downtown areas. Just scrolling down here. So this might be a little, a little long here, but I just want to make sure that we all kind of understand what this grant is. So I'm going to go through every question. So one aspect is broad support and impact, and that's 10 points for a complete narrative with partnerships of 3 or more organizations and or resources, and the roles explained. Because we're going to be utilizing Lions Park for a lot of events, I'm going to ask a lot of support from the Recreation Commission. Also with the schools, because we're going to use use Lions Park as a place for integrating students to the space, and then and I can get feedback from the board on this would be great. I was thinking about asking Island House Living. It's a senior living facility. Macomb Street has home to a lot of senior living folks. On the east end of Macomb Street and Island Senior Living. So I thought that'd be a great organization to get a letter of support from. But welcome to any feedback on that. Next, alignment with local planning considerations. So 10 points is for demonstrating evidence of contributing to community vision. So this is Macomb Street, our master plan from 2020, our economic enhancement strategy from 2020, and as well as all the public engagement that we did in our latest master plan update for the township. That's where we're going to use a lot of feedback. The community really wants parks, especially on Macomb Street. So that'll be a great demonstration of local planning considerations. And then a letter of support from the chief executive, which would be Mr. Porcerelli over there. So I'll have a letter of support, hopefully drafted for you soon. Location and contribution. So it's in a downtown area. Contribution to vibrancy and economic growth. This is where in the second round of RAP, I wasn't able to get the full 10 points, and this is where Smith Group will step in. They can actually provide economic data that what a public park, the economic impact of a public park in a downtown area. They can project the amount of foot traffic through this really crazy software system called Placer AI, which tracks. It's one of those weird things when you agree to the terms and services through Apple or your Samsung phone. It actually kind of tracks you, and this software tracks the amount of foot traffic that's on Macomb Street, and then they can project how much more foot traffic would be increased with a public park. So they're going to add a lot of economic data to that to really get those 10 points for us. Total project costs and funding requests. And these cost estimates have to be within 6 months. I'm currently working with Smith Group and our engineers to make sure that the estimates that I'm going to run with you guys in the next agenda item is accurate. And it needs to be stamped by an engineer or a planning firm like Smith Group. So they'll be kind of coordinating that. Project funding. So they're going to help really explain how the project will be funded. You'll see later, we've already invested $200,000 into Lions Park, and that accounts for costs, acquisition of the park, so many other things I'll dive into later. And then hopefully with the help of the township board, a $300,000 loan so that we get that 50-50 match. We have to match the grant 50-50. So this is basically, showing exactly how our funding, where our funding sources are to make sure that we, live up to the commitment of getting this project done. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Site readiness and use, that's just basically saying, is the site ready? Do we have everything ready to go? What's the square footage? So we're good there. Project status and site readiness. Do we have our construction drawings? Do we have our site renderings? Do we have, consultants or, contractors that are ready to do this job for us? And by the time we submit in late January, we'll have the park completely engineered from top to bottom. So, and Smith Group will also provide an update of our renderings according to those engineering drawings. Site control and ownership, we own the park, so we're good there. Project schedule and timing, that's also where Smith Group and our engineers were kind of help time us out, what makes sense at every step of the way up until 2027. So these funds need to be expended by 2027. The project needs to be completed by then. And that's sort of why we're requesting from the board financial assistance through a loan so that we can start work as soon as we get this grant in spring of 2025. So 2 years to spend this money and get the job done. And our engineers and Smith Group will help with that. Universal design. So Smith Group and our engineers will work together to make sure, the way it is right now, we planned this park so that it was intergenerational. You could be, a kid, you could be an elder, a senior, any person of all skills and abilities to enter the park and enjoy a concert, a movie, come to Island Glow, sit, you can sit on the park bench without having to traverse gravel or mulch or anything like that. So it is ADA, it's up to ADA standards, and we need to have a separate entity verify that and get their stamp of approval, and Smith Group will help get us that stamp of approval. Four-season programming. So we do utilize the space during all 4 seasons. We could probably do more in the wintertime, and we can plan around that. We can plan more things. Once we have a complete park, we can plan for more events. So we'll demonstrate that. Cultural and social engagement or recreation opportunities. It's kind of the same thing. What more are we, with this project, what more will we be doing to bring the community together? Project maintenance and sustainability, just making sure that we're maintaining the park. And it's a pretty low maintenance park, just grass cutting really and weeding. And use of the space by small business operators. We did want to utilize, that open area for farmers markets in the future potentially. So anybody could set up a tent there, maybe even winter market stuff in the future potentially. Who knows? So, and then just to touch base on a few other things that we'll be doing, we'll be adding curb cuts, ADA accessible curb cuts here. We'll be adding a crosswalk across Macomb Street and adding a curb cut here. This is mostly, and another crosswalk enhancement here with ADA accessible curb cuts here. And that's really because right now, the kids that come from the high school or the middle school, they can't safely cross Macomb Street. Nothing around here tells you that this is meant for someone to cross, right? So we're looking at, maybe some signage here, or maybe like you see a little sign in the middle of the street that says, crossing or what have you, just so like kids know, hey, I can safely cross this street. People know that I'm going to be crossing, and then they can go down to the hardware store, the bakery, or the East End Cafe, whatever's down there, or venture over there. We'll also be cleaning up this section here, regrading this, adding grass, adding a curb. So although we're doing a lot of our improvements right here, we are doing things within the easement as well. So, and that's the overview of the grant.
Ross, a question. If you were to get the full amount of points for every item, do you know how much that adds up to?
Previous one was 89 points. I'm not sure I forgot what we scored then. I'm not sure what the total points are.
In what did we score last time?
Question. I think we were like 1 or 2 points shy of getting considered for the next round of evaluation. So
Expectation is that this time around we're obviously going to do much better.
we're going all out. Yeah, we're completely ready. I've learned a lot from the past couple submissions, and I know exactly what we need, and I think that with all the work that we've put put ahead of this, I think that we have a better chance, but I'm not going to jinx it, so.
Thanks. Any other questions? Are you ready to move on to the action items, Ross?
Sure.
Okay. And we'll move on to our action items, which the first item is a motion to recommend approval of an interdepartmental loan of $300,000 contingent to an awarded grant from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to the Township Board trustees. Anyone have any questions on that?
I missed last month, so I don't know, maybe, so we're loaning money from the DDA to,
We're gonna borrow money
oh,
from the
The re-
township.
The
Never mind.
request is,
Okay.
yep, so there's a revolving loan fund that the township has.
okay,
I'm not sure exactly what's in there. I think it's above $500,000 or so. And so we're requesting $300,000 for this project.
Because for this grant, because we have to have a certain amount of money in order to get their $500,000, and we don't have that, we're gonna borrow it from the township and then pay back that loan over time.
So I'll just kind of break it down. So right now we spent approximately $200,000, a little over $200,000 on Lions Park with benches and trash receptacles, the GI sculpture foundations for the GI sculpture, foundations for the trash and bench pads, engineering, architectural renderings, utilities, sidewalks, landscaping, and then tree removal, and then acquisition in 2009 of $75,000. So all of these, everything that we spent is an eligible expense. So the way that this grant works, I guess I'll just kind of skate past that for a second. The way that this grant works, if I could zoom in. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I just
good.
can't-
I can't see it either, so.
Okay.
Is that better?
No, that's fine. Yes. Thank you, sir.
So we spent $200,000, a little over $200,000. And in order to receive the first round of the grant, so if you once you're 50% complete with the project and have spent 50% of the eligible funds, they give you 50% of the awarded grant, which is $250,000. So with the loan, we would immediately start work and expend all that money within a year, hopefully. Then they would give us $250,000. We'd utilize that $250,000 for more work on the park, and then we would spend the remaining money of our own the taxes that we've collected through our capital improvements funds on the park. And then once it's complete, we are given the remaining $250,000. And the reason why we're asking for the $300,000 because we just don't have the funds for the next 3 or really 2 years to spend upwards of $1 million to complete this project. So that $300,000 helps us get to the threshold of $250,000 and then complete the project, and then we are given the $250,000 upon completion. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot of things I'm throwing at you guys.
Anybody have any questions for Ross?
And then when we get that 250,000 at the end, that's going to go to more improvements, or that's going to go to pay the loan back.
That can go towards paying the loan back, or that's just money right back to us. It doesn't have to go towards anything specifically, but
Okay.
it will pay for the costs that we've the previous year or two of our own TIF funds, of our own money that we're spending. That's basically recouped.
Okay.
Yeah. So, got to spend money to make money, sort of thing. And then our loan And it's actually, I just got a rate from our finance director a couple days ago. It's actually it's 4.75. It's not 5% interest rates. So these figures are a little different. It's probably like around $43,000 per year. Yeah. So it's around $43,000 per year. And if you look at our expenses, the past couple years out of our capital improvement funds, we really aren't spending that much money. And I talked with our finance director about this, and I said, hey, looking at our, projected revenue over the next 7 years, is this a red flag? And she said, no, like you guys should be, you can account for my salary, all the things that we have going on, our maintenance of the street. We can maintain everything the way that we have now and still do some minor improvements, and pay off this loan every year. So
If there's no other questions for Ross, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend approval by the board? Or
Motion
to go
by
to the board?
Supervisor Porcelli, supported by Ms. Danko. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next, thanks, Ross. Our next action item is a motion to approve the grant writing services from Smith Group in amount not to exceed $5,000. And that is in relation to this grant that Ross just explained to us.
Yep.
So,
Have we used them before?
So we've, the township used them for our master plan update. We've traditionally used Wade Trim. Ron, I'm not sure if you were on that email thread that I sent to him recently. I tried to reach out to them, and I didn't hear a response from Scott, but
we did.
no.
Oh,
Yep.
that's surprising. No, I did not see that, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm not sure we've used Wade Trim to write a grant. We've used them for consulting services for, helping us with the park, and they were actually the ones that put together the original development plan for the DDA way back 20 years ago or so. So they've been a very valuable consultant to us over the years, but maybe grant writing isn't their specialty, so maybe that was the reason they didn't submit a proposal. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Pusak, supported by Mr. Jacobson, to approve Smith Group for grant writing in the amount not to exceed $5,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next action item is a motion to approve the DDA master plan action items.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to be up here a lot today. So as you know, we're going through the master plan for the township. A large part of it is, action items that's taken by separate commissions, committees, within the township over a 20-year period. So there's stuff in here for the recreation department, the Commerce Park, and the DDA, among many others. So before we go to, I'll be going to the Planning Commission to adopt these action items. So I just wanted to get the good graces of the DDA to say, hey, we looked over these, and the DDA approved what's mentioned in here. So this might take a little bit of time, but hopefully not too much. So one of them here is to permit mixed density, compact, walkable residential neighborhoods close to activity centers such as Macomb Street and Commerce Park. Consider expanding opportunities for attached housing near Macomb Street and Commerce Park. So attached housing is sort of, it's your condos, it's your duplex, it's your triplexes, duplexes, that sort of use. And then update Macomb Street zoning standards to allow for more gentle density, by right including more building coverage, reduce the minimum front setback, increase building height, and consider limiting parking between the building facade and the street. Once we approve the master plan, we're going to update Macomb Street zoning ordinances. And a part of that update is looking to increase the allowable building height on Macomb Street. Right now it's 35 feet, but it can only be 2 stories. And we're looking at expanding that, increasing that height to 3 stories. So, in the case of, what we want to see on Macomb Street, right, or at least what we've heard, is that we would like to see that traditional mixed-use development where it's that retail on the bottom and then housing units on top. And what we find, especially in a post-pandemic world, right, the cost of building is increased by 40% as it was in 2019 or so. So in order to make these projects make sense, it has to be that 3 or possibly even 4-story building height. Whether 4-story buildings make sense on Macomb Street, that's questionable, but we just want to investigate if increasing the building height makes sense.
Clarify, like, the front setback.
Yep. So right now on Macomb Street, you have to be 25 feet from the sidewalk. Your building has to be 25 feet from the sidewalk.
At least 25.
At least 25 feet. So that's one thing. When you're walking Macomb Street, like for instance, for instance, you are 150 or however far. I mean, it's probably 75.
That was a decision from the township when Mr. Green built the building.
Yeah. Because what we see with like Vitale's too, right? Like that's all the way in the back because they wanted all the parking in the front.
Got nice parking.
Right. Yeah. But what we, at least what the trends are today is we want to have the buildings up by the sidewalk and then the parking in the back or on the side to create that walkable mixed use feel of it, and like what a traditional downtown area feels like. So, and the other thing is the density, only a certain percentage of your building I'm not sure exactly what that percentage is, but, I think it's only probably like 30% of your building. Like if you have like a 30, an acre lot, your building can only be 30% of that acre lot. That other percentage has to be saved for parking or what have you. I'm throwing 30 out there. It could be more, it could be less. So it's just basically looking into all these things to see, what makes sense for Macomb Street, and what we would like to see there. And this is just setting the stage for zoning amendments in the future. And all zoning amendments that happen on Macomb Street will be presented to the DDA before we, pass them on to the Planning Commission and get them approved. So, and then consider revising Macomb Street zoning district to permit attached housing choices, like I had said earlier. Some of these are a little redundant, but, let's see here. Permit a range of commercial uses in Macomb Street District needed to meet the retail, shopping, and service needs of township residents, but limit uses within industrial character to Commerce Park. This is like, right now, used car lots can go in Macomb Street, right? And recreational opportunities like, potentially, a putt-putt course, let's say, in the back of, in the back of a business or, fun recreational opportunities. That's not allowed on Macomb Street right now. So these ordinances haven't been updated in, quite some time. So just looking at, what are the range of uses that make sense on Macomb Street and what uses make sense at Commerce Park. That's basically all that's saying. Consider more uses allowed by right. Bed and breakfasts you have to go through special land use approval. So you have to go to Planning Commission, spend a pretty decent, fee to get that approved. Indoor entertainment assembly like theaters, health and fitness centers, multifamily units, live work developments, like where there's offices on the bottom, and residents on top. And mixed-use development with activated first-floor retail or office fronting Macomb Street. Further investigate compatible new economy uses, which have been shown to be effective contributors to successful business districts. This includes medical research facilities, alcohol production and tasting facilities, studios, like film, arts, crafts, incubator spaces, and food truck parks, which I'm not a favor of, but this is basically just setting the stage for us to look at and consider. So consider adopting pre-approved commercial, residential, and mixed-use building plans to lower the cost of design and approval process. So right now, Macomb Street has a pre-approved design standard for townhomes, but nobody's built them. Back in early 2000s, we thought it would be a great idea to say, hey, if you build this, we will allow you to do it. You don't have to go to planning commission and spend all that money. You don't have to get, architectural renderings. All you have to do is just give us the building plans and you're good to go. And basically what we're saying with this is, if you come in with triplexes or duplexes or apartment building or wherever if it makes sense, and we have it in our master plan, we have pre-approved stamped drawings saying, hey, if you build this, you can do this. It's just saying to consider allowing something like that in our zoning ordinances. So this is, just to sum this up, it's to employ flexible parking standards. So right now, just today, there is a long-term vacant bank that's being converted into an ice cream shop. That change in use, where once, there's different parking standards for an office building as there is for a restaurant or an ice cream shop. So thankfully, we're not going to have a problem, but, we have our parking standards for that ice cream parlor. For every 75 square feet of dining area, you need to have one parking spot. So if you had like a big event hall, you would need about like an acre of parking, right? So what we want to do is say, hey, we're not going to require you to have we're not going to require a strict amount of parking. Whatever you think makes sense and what works for your business, we'll allow, or we'll work with you on what that number is, instead of saying for every square feet you need this. And this is becoming common in a lot of municipalities because, ultimately letting the market dictate, letting the business owners say, hey, this is all the parking I need. Well, that's great. That's all the parking you need. So it's just employing something like that. Encourage a mixture of commercial, office, and residential uses along Macomb Street to create more activity. That's what we're trying to do, right? So, or encourage a mixture. Oh, yep, that's what I just said. Limit. So this is a hot topic. Limit any new construction of single-family housing along Macomb Street in favor of mixed-use, commercial, and multifamily development along the street. So what this is basically saying is, single family homes are nice, but do they belong on Macomb Street? Do we have enough single family homes? And, if so, if you have a single family home, have a shop underneath it. Or, that's really what we're trying to encourage. We're not, I'm not sure exactly. I think we have 25 single-family homes on Macomb Street. If we're trying to create a thriving business district, maybe we should rethink allowing more single-family construction going up on the street and maybe saving those vacant parcels that we have for businesses. The Planning Commission and a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this. We're not really sure how to feel about this. So I think that maybe having a conversation about this topic would be helpful, or just letting me know what you guys think about this. If anything.
Oh, you want feedback right now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's have a conversation.
Husak.
Wellington, Ohio. It's just a cute little community. One of my best friends lives there, and in their downtown hometown strip, and I know we don't like to use that word in economic development, but, you know, there's shopping, and then there's these fabulous little places you can rent, like when you come into town and, you know, stay for the weekend. It's a really nice concept. You know, so I know it's harsh to kind of say we don't want any more single family homes, but I know, you know, with what we're trying to build, you know, it may make sense. So
Is a bed and breakfast considered, I'm assuming that's considered a business, not a residential?
Correct. Yeah. And that's really what we would like to see too, right? I mean, especially with Bishop's Cottage, unfortunately, that's been converted into a single family home. Someone's living there now, and it's no longer going to be a bed and breakfast. So,
What about like just rentals, like she was saying, like not necessarily bed and breakfast, but just like, you know, short-term rentals, not like, kind of like an Airbnb, but
yeah.
something like that.
Unfortunately, I mean, that we could, you know, if that's something that we'd like to explore for just Macomb Street, we can definitely look into that. But right now, the township does not allow short-term rentals. But I think if someone who is here in the summertime and they go to California or wherever, or Florida, and they want to rent out their single-family home, and it's an option for family members to say, hey, you can rent out this spot on Macomb Street. I think that's something that we can explore.
certainly a need in our community.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'll definitely include that in the recommendation.
Any other comments for Ross? Okay.
Cool. All right. I mean, some of these are a little, so encourage site design that orients the buildings towards the road and provides small, well-landscaped front yards. I mean, that's sort of, yeah, but I mean, that's sort of, when you see like island shops, right? How it's sort of, it's kind of disoriented, right? I think that it's trying to have that uniformity up along Macomb Street. So maintain building setbacks close to Macomb Street. We talked about that. Place parking to the side or rear buildings. Create a more comfortable walking and biking experience on Macomb Street by completing sidewalk connections between Macomb Street and surrounding areas, enhancing crossings at Park Lane and Lyons Road, using strategic mid-block crossings. I kind of had brought this up probably about a year ago that I wanted to pursue a grant to add crosswalks along Macomb Street to get that more walkable feel. So that's basically hinting towards that. Modify landscape buffer standards to eliminate side yard buffering to encourage a more town center-like character. Depending on the development, you have to, in some cases, or more often than not, you have to maintain a strip of grass between, your building and the adjoining property. So it's like a 10-yard buffer that you have to have in between businesses sometimes for any new development, and we kind of want to get rid of that and kind of bring buildings closer together. Require street tree plantings along Macomb Street and landscaping within front yards. So that's sort of to cover those the parking areas along Macomb Street to have that uniformity. That's it.
Thanks, Ross. To me, obviously, a lot of these are just things that are point out that the master plan or the zoning ordinance is out of date and it needs to be updated. Because a lot of these, to me, are just normal things that you
Right.
should be doing anyhow. So if, we need to update it to kind of bring it up to today's standards, I think it's a good idea. So.
And I think explicitly saying it, even though like, hey, this is no-brainer stuff, but like this sets the platform for zoning ordinance changes for things that we want to see. So, kind of have to state the obvious sometimes, but. Yep.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Question, Ron, if I may. Just so I understand this, Ross, this action item, it's basically a collaboration from the DDA, the planning, and even BPAC, and some things mentioned that was being in the master plan.
Correct.
So it's a collaboration that some agreed to certain things, some wanted others, but it was a whole group of.
Yep. So BPAC went through at their commission meeting and kind of did the same practice. The recreation department, I had handed this over to them. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I mean, for recommendations for the recreation department, it's kind of the same thing what we're talking about here. It's kind of, yeah, of course that makes sense. It's things that just make sense. And the same thing for Commerce Park. There's some stuff in there for Commerce Park that was handed over to Janelle too. So we're just basically saying, hey, Planning Commission, we approve everything that's in these action items. So.
And with Macomb Street being, obviously our key financial district in the township, it's makes up a big part of what the whole master plan and that the zoning ordinance covers. So I think it's important that we approve a motion today that we support these items that are in this master plan. So the Planning Commission understands that we are supportive of this. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the DDA master plan action items.
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Pusak. Support by Ms. Stanko. Wasn't sure if that was you or Ms. Carnes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Thanks, Ross. Yep. Might as well just stay there.
Yeah, I'll grab my water.
Our next items are our DDA Director's Report, and the first item is the Social District Branding / Survey Material.
Yes. So we are picking this back up. And unfortunately, we are going to have to pass a resolution, kind of go through the same process that we did a few years ago, because I'm proposing that we change the district, the proposed social district. And we've already got broad support from the businesses on this. So the next step, is to go to the residents, the single-family homes on within the district and ask for their blessing. So, what I hand out to them today, it might not be what you see right now, like this, how this is formatted, but it's the gist of what will be sent out to them. So we'll tell them what a social district is. I can go through this if you want me to.
Does anybody here not remember what a social district is and what we did previously? Okay. I don't think
Okay. Yeah.
you can speak to any of the highlights that you might want to, but going in detail, I think we've already gone through this before.
Well, yep. So it'll tell them what a social district is, what the common area is, which is where you can take your drink from Lloyd's and walk down to see the band at Lions Park or what have you. Enjoying the social district, sort of like the regulations of, you have to dispose of your cup before, once you take it from Lloyd's, and if you want to walk into Island Goods, you have to dispose of your cup before you walk into that establishment. Sort of those sorts of things. And
Sorry,
Yep.
will it be like, I know in Wyandotte, there's little signs that says end of social
Yep.
they'll do that.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have signs up at every point. And then within each business that participates in the social district, we'll have signs up explaining what is the social district, what are the rules are, and that'll be hung up at their establishment. And the cups that are provided to the bars will have social district logos on it. So, and kind of talking about why are we considering social districts, the economic benefits, how it enhances events, those sorts of things. More rules on the social districts. So this is the new proposed, let me see if I can zoom in here. So it would start at Ume, go all the way down past Lions Park, right up until right up to our DDA parking lot, or just a little bit past our DDA parking lot. Just so that, whenever we're doing events or, if there's an open street market or what have you, whatever we plan in the future, we're not disturbing the folks who live in those, the apartments on East River and Macomb Street there on the north and south side of Macomb Street. And then and another reason why we have to go through this resolution process is because actually I think UME right now is in the process of selling their liquor license according to the Michigan Liquor Commission website. Lloyd's is still they have theirs, Perdino's, Sully's, and then the Literary Hideaway will be coming up, and then I think we're gonna have a potential another one coming up here soon too. So. So I guess this is where your help would be greatly appreciated. Is what kind of questions would you like to ask the residents? I just said we have attached information sharing what social districts are. How would you rate your knowledge of them, and just rate it? And then, if any, what are your primary concerns or reservations about social districts on Macomb? Do you believe a social district will be a positive addition to Macomb Street? And would you be interested in attending a meeting to hear more about social districts on Macomb Street?
And Ross, I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is the residents on Macomb Street, not in the township.
Correct.
The rest
Yep.
of the township. Okay.
It's those living in the single family homes, or there's a couple apartments. It would be the colony, the folks in the colony too. Everyone along the street there. So
What if we don't get their blessing?
I think that's a decision for the board to make. I'm just gonna collect the data and present it to you guys and see if you guys would like to move forward. Just doing our due diligence.
How are you communicating it to them? I'm sorry if you said that already.
Yeah, I'm kind of workshopping that too. Obviously, not everyone uses social media, and it's kind of hard to filter out exactly if they're, even on Macomb Street or not. So I was thinking direct mailers, but then how do we get that information back? You can either drop it off in person, but most people probably won't. So it's sort of,
Once it's been mailed by us, if
Right.
they
Yeah,
don't
you assume
the effort to return it.
no respond means they're not against it.
yeah, or maybe even a QR code on there. Yeah, I know the QR codes. It seems so hip and cool, but no one uses it. Like everyone's tired of it. So, but I mean, we could just do physical mailers, and then whatever we receive back.
It's almost going to be, I don't know, maybe my thought is to do a mailer and just to invite them to a work session to discuss, because it's going to be real, in my opinion, easy to look at it and say, I don't want this.
Right.
Maybe more, an invitation to, put the information out there and.
I think that's great. Yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
A public meeting?
Yeah, we could
On,
have.
would you, what I'm trying to say, if the board, would that help you?
I think the community wants it. I just don't know that 25 people on Macomb Street want it, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, like inviting folks from Macomb Street to attend one of our meetings, or maybe we, one day we have our meeting at the VFW hall.
That's what I would recommend, that we hold the meeting on Macomb Street, make it more convenient for them to attend.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that sounds
Them, it
great.
seems to really help your cause, that you truly care, number one, of what they think, but it seems when you have a public meeting, people come down. Now, if you only get 5 people to come down, but you're still gonna have your answer then. If there's only 5 that show up, they may have showed up because of the no, but, then it might, but you have to
Other
make
people
them,
are just, well, I'm not going to show up.
you gotta
'cause I
make
don't
them feel
care.
part of the program of the decision-making. It's up to
And-
you. It's just, we try to have it now with this new board. We're having public meetings. They're gonna be a lot more, that's all I'm gonna say.
And even just to educate ourselves with, other communities that have this district and how it's affected, positively, because obviously I think we're all for it, like how it positively impacts the community.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get data from that too, especially for that. I presented on that a couple years ago, and I mean, it's been overwhelmingly net positive, aside from, a couple instances, but that happens when you have a lot. I mean, depending on where you are. I think Macomb Street is, we don't have a bunch of bars where people are getting, very like obscenely drunk, except for maybe one event a year. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm kidding.
So yeah, I mean that sounds great. I mean, providing a bunch of, sending out mailers, telling them, hey, we're having this meeting at the VFW. Maybe we have it in March or something like that. Coming out and hear about the social district. I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
All right, I'll be sure to follow up more on that next month.
move on to our next item, which is the DDA tax increment finance plan update.
Wait, but hold on, I got more on the social.
I was gonna
Oh,
say, did you want
okay.
feedback on this?
Sorry.
This is the fun part.
Oh. Logo.
Logos.
Gotta be a better. Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys. Why is it still?
Okay, we all got it in front of us.
Okay, you guys all got it. Okay, cool. That works right there, right? Okay. So this is some branding options that we got from our graphic designer. The fourth one is sort of the traditional, that kind of falls in line with what our existing logo is, with the lighthouse. But the other the first three are sort of, more modern takes on it, and I think, just a little bit more fun. And I think that's what a social district's intended to be, right? It's supposed to be fun, not necessarily traditional. But so I'm not sure what direction you guys are kind of feeling. I kind of like number 3, but you can't really read it.
Yeah.
I think you could outline the letters, maybe.
Yeah.
The ones on the right look like a label that you're gonna slap on an envelope.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're nice, but it's like, yeah. And I kind of asked to take the color scheme from number 3 and then put it onto social district in number 2 to kind of have like multicolors going across social district. I don't know. We can keep workshopping this. We have time. So just kind of want to get your guys' feel.
Anybody want to add their opinion to any of these?
The G looks like a Pac-Man to me.
Yeah.
Right. 1 and 3.
I kind of like 2 as well, but yeah, maybe a little more color.
Either 2 or 3 for me, if we, did something more to outline the G and, make it a little more distinctive.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'll be sure to let her know.
Now we move on to the DDA and tax increment finance plan update.
So, let me see here. So, this whole discussion around loans got me and Ron talking. The life of our tax increment financing plan, which is how we receive revenue, is going to end in 2032. And typically, the best practice is once you get to the 10 years and sooner of the life of the plan, you want to update it. So, what the updates will include is, and we last updated it in 2012. So the update will reflect the changing economic conditions, the community priorities, and development needs on Macomb Street. Extending the life of the plan will allow the DDA to receive loans for development during the life of the plan. I had first reached out to the township's financial advisors to get a loan. And they said, well, given the fact that the life of your plan is only 7 years, no one's going to loan you this. Yeah. So, you know, if we ever have a large scale project in the future where we would like to do another loan, that just sort of provides us the opportunity to do that. And it would also include gap funding for projects where, you know, right now we can't afford to do that, where if there's a new project and they're like, hey, in order for this to make sense for us, we need $100,000 from the DDA. That's something that, you know, we could do. Utilize, get funding, update the financing analysis to allow the DDA to bond out projects in the future. I already said that. And update projects. And this plan update will also be, will go in conjunction with Macomb Street zoning updates and potentially the streetscape design plan that we had approved the RFP for a couple meetings ago. And that will all be funded through a $35,000 grant from the state of Michigan, which I secured like 3 months ago. So this will not be a cost to the DDA. It'll just be new updated plans and zoning ordinance updates. So
Really what this means is right now the DDA will end in 2032 unless we extend it. So as you update the plan, both from a development standpoint, what you're going to use the money for, and then what your expected income is, we would need to, you know, have that plan written, and then we decide how long we want to extend it to. And then obviously if we were to do it 20 or 25 years at the end of that time, then, or as it gets closer to that ending, you'd extend it again. And I mean, it's very normal that all of the communities that I know that have a DDA, when it comes time, they just extend it out for typically another 20 years. So we've already done this once. So this would be the second time that we would be extending it. And obviously it allows the township to collect tax money that would not be coming to the township. It would go to other taxing jurisdictions. So it allows us to capture money that would typically leave the island, and we'd probably never see that again in any kind of return. But because of the DDA, we capture that money, but it needs to be spent back into the Macomb Street district. So it's a way for the township to get some funding that they typically wouldn't get if there was no DDA there. So it's a way to improve the street. Any questions? Anybody not in favor of extending it?
I don't have to do any work on it. You guys go right ahead.
Anything else, Ross, on that?
Nope.
Move on to the economic investment and business attraction strategy.
all right, so about a year ago, it was Jerry, myself, I forgot who else was on that subcommittee. We tried to create a business attraction and retention strategy. Thankfully, Smith Group came in and said, well, we'll just do that for you because, it's very difficult to do. So basically, this gives a lot of information regarding retail leakage findings on Macomb Street and the island as a whole. So that's where folks are leaving the island to spend money as opposed to spending it here. And that kind of gives us an insight into what types of businesses we should be recruiting or looking for on Macomb Street, so or Commerce Park. So surprisingly, grocery stores that request a large expansion or an addition. Speaking with Kroger, it's the highest performing Kroger, I think, in the Midwest per capita, like for each square footage of building space, which is, you wouldn't think that, but it's true. Yeah.
Surprising.
Yep. And then unmet demand for sporting goods, hobby, and musical instrument stores. We could potentially support 1 to 4 stores. Lawn and garden equipment and supplies stores, 1 or an expansion. That's for, at each stage here, you can see the unmet demand in millions.
So, just to be blunt, I guess, is that feedback because Ralph's closed and that was, they were the lawn equipment store on Macomb? Or how did that get developed?
So this was, so they did a 15-minute a 15-minute radius, you know, that it takes you to get off the island, 15 minutes out, and they used that Placer AI data, that software system, and this data is it's very scary. The amount of information that you can pull from this. They can track where you leave from the island and where folks go. Like they go to a Lowe's and they stop by B-Dubs and then they come home, or they go to they go to the LA Fitness and then they come home, and that, you know, instead of going to Island Fitness over here. So that's sort of how they're tracking this. So yeah.
So part of this demand could include demand driven out of areas within 15 minutes of here, not just demand on Grosse Ile, if I'm reading this correctly.
I
I
think
find it hard to
what
believe there's I can guarantee there's not $15 million of unmet demand.
right. I think what this tells you is that people leave the island to buy these products.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean if they were located on Grosse Ile that, you know, it could be a thriving business. I don't know that all of these, if there was a business on Macomb, that they would survive, that we would support them. But some of these would be because people are leaving the island to buy those products.
Correct, okay.
So,
Sorry if I didn't explain that well.
yeah, it just tells you that people leave the island to go buy a certain amount of products. Some of them we could support by having it here. Others, I think you need more traffic than what we have just on Grosse Ile to support some of these type of businesses.
Yeah, and the highest traffic point is Macomb Street Meridian, because you turn right into Kroger and then you leave, right? So, but and some more findings here. You know, I mean, things like shoe stores, 1 to 4. Like we're not going to get a DSW or on Macomb Street. Jewelry, luggage, and leather goods, beer and wine, building materials and supplies. This not top destinations. Things like automobile dealers and whatnot. But and this shows what we've already or that are not viable, where we have actually too much supply and not enough demand, right? So.
I mean, I don't mean to be not getting it, but I mean, like if there was, is this telling us that you could really use a beer and wine liquor store? I mean, not that we already have that, but I mean, is there something that this is saying this would do well here?
Yeah, so-
Am I missing that?
Basically, you know, when somebody's like, hey, I want to set up shop here on Macomb Street, you know, what makes sense? And we just basically hand them this and say, hey, these are our market findings from 2023, where, you know, depending on what you do, you know, hey, I want to open a sporting goods store. Well, according to this market demand, you know, market analysis, we could potentially support a sporting goods store. Does that make sense?
Not topped. Okay, got it.
And that just has a bunch of strategies to kind of attract more businesses to Macomb Street or the island, and different policies that we could potentially adopt moving forward. And then this is the Macomb Street redevelopment strategy. I'm not going to dig too much into this, but basically what this does is dig into redevelopment sites on Macomb Street. So like for Vitale's, it has a proposed, you know, function for that site, and what would potentially make sense there, and what we would like to see, like a 3-story mixed-use development there. So
There are examples of possible redevelopments of these three different sites. Yep.
Some projects that we have going on, different styles, building designs, signage, so that sorts of stuff, so. And that's all I have.
Any questions on the economic investment in the redevelopment strategy? If not, we'll move on to our last DDA Director's Report item, which is the Island Glow recap.
Yeah, no, I'm a little tired now. From what I heard, it was all positive responses. I mean, Supervisor Porcerelli was there. Do you have any feedback on the event?
Well, first, I'd just like to say this. I want to apologize to this group because I thought it was more of a joint effort between the rec and the DDA, but I know it starts here with the DDA. Some of the individuals from the rec did help out, apparently, but I do apologize to you. I didn't know that it starts here at the DDA. And at the board meeting, I did thank all who were involved. I didn't name names or groups, and I wasn't exactly sure all the different groups, if you will, that was in it, so thank you. And I do apologize to all you for that, I should have known that it was originated or starting, and Ross explained to me that it was a DDA event. It wasn't a basic rec event, so thank you. I thought it was a phenomenal job. I got to tell you the truth, I've been down there not only when I was the police chief, but township trustee each year, and I think there was more people there this year than I've seen. I don't know about you, if anybody else was even, there, you saw the amount of people, but I was stunned, unusual view from the sleigh. But it was, I've not seen, that many people. I've gone from the Commons down, and it was like kids, almost like the, some of the high school homecoming parade. You know what I mean? It was like that many kids, and it was freezing out.
It was wicked cold.
It was-
For us, it was
Absolutely
probably
free.
the worst in-store traffic year ever. Because I think with all the activity down there, it just was so cold.
It was absolutely freezing out, but I was stunned that Lions Park there was packed when we got there, but it was, the side of the road was packed. And I know I'm just rambling on now, but I just want to say, first off, thank you. You guys put on a great event. And again, my apology that I didn't realize it started here. It started with the DDA.
I'm glad it was well attended. That's good
It
news.
certainly was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I do have one more thing.
Okay.
So you guys all saw we are getting a ice cream shop, which is awesome. That building's being occupied, which is great. And then right next to it, somebody did purchase Vitale's, and it will be being demolished in the spring. So our efforts to contact getting contact with the previous property owner over the past couple years to get it deemed as a dangerous building and move through that process paid off, and we are hoping for a project that will really benefit Macomb Street, hopefully sooner rather than later. So
That's good news. I mean, I know everybody looked at that as sort of being an eyesore, and there was a lot of hope that it would get redeveloped in some way. So it's good that someone did purchase it. It's going to get demolished, and hopefully look forward to some kind of nice redevelopment there and be a good addition to Macomb Street. So that's good news. We'll move on to our next item, which is the chairman's report, and I would just like to welcome Supervisor Porcerelli to the board. He and I had a chance to serve together on the Airport Commerce Park Commission for a while, so you are the 6th supervisor that I've had an opportunity to work with on the DDA, so I've had an
That's good or
opportunity-
bad? Thank you.
So welcome, and
Thank you very much.
thank you for
And
joining
I'm
the
here to
board.
learn. I mean, that's my job now, is just to learn.
That's all I have. So next item is a public comment. There's no one here in the audience today. So is there any open business from any of the board members?
Jerry and I have been kind of emailing about the bridge in March. I've reached out to some of my suppliers. I mean, just, on my level, I'm gonna have to get dirt and mulch delivered in February. And I can't pay for that in February. It's a really low, slow cash flow kind of time of year. I'm gonna have to ask for terms. So I just want to make sure that as we start the new year, that where there's some kind of action plan for us to communicate, to get together, because it's pretty scary to not be able to get our
I
product.
understand. And as I talked to Jerry, we are already bringing in business owners to the township with Derek and myself to speak to them. And once we get our plan from the engineer, we'll know. Now, and not to go in too deep with your personal business, but I think that your deliveries might be fine. I'm just letting you know you may not have to stock up in February. But what we're going to talk about, we're going to have an open meeting, and we're going to talk to all the business owners in the boardroom here. We'll have an open meeting, but we've already started bringing in business owners. We talked earlier, and if you'd like to come in, Derek and I can kind of explain. It's not set in stone yet because our engineers haven't set it in stone yet, but I have a very good idea how much weight can go over that bridge for only that period of time, not more than probably 30 days. Not to say it'll be a danger, but it will have an issue on the repair. That's all I can say right now. Obviously, we're handcuffed because of the disclosure agreement. We have a non-disclosure agreement with Mr. Smoke.
We just have to plan.
That I will be
Yeah.
more than happy to meet with you here if you'd like to before the meeting, because I think, as we talked about, he's going to see, the weight limits that he has coming over, and the same thing we're going to ask other individuals that have businesses, and even down here, Ron, I don't know what deliveries the airport gets. I mean, of all the businesses, I am learning that of each and every business that's down here and what they get. And we're going to do everything we possibly can once we become the owner of that bridge, but we're going to have meetings beforehand. And I'm getting the information from our engineers that about the weight limit. And I think you might be able, there may be a bunch that will be okay for just a 30-day period, but that's really about it. So, but you call me down there anytime, or if you want to come down and see me. But if I could just ask for you to do something before you come down, as we're asking each of the business owners, can you please check with the people that do the deliveries, and they have the weight limits for their vehicles, because once again, like for the hardware, is he the first stop or is he the last stop? It makes a big difference.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because
And-
since the other bridge issue, we've been pushed to the back of the truck, so we're always the last truck. So that we are.
So you're the
lightest.
lighter end of the truck as opposed to the heavier end?
But when they bring
The
over-
hardware is the heavier end.
Yeah, we're always
They're
the first.
first.
Yeah.
So
So-
if you could just do that for me, please, and call me down here anytime, or I'll give you my cell number after the meeting. Call me and we'll meet. But I can explain to you, and it's not that I don't want to do it publicly, but there's certain things that we just can't get into yet, but I can get into helping you. I can get into your weight limit for that coming on, and what we can do for you once we're owners.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Before we adjourn, I would just like to thank everyone for their participation on the DDA board this past year and for all the things that you do. And I think we're seeing the fruits of our labor on Macomb as we're starting to get more and more businesses opening on the street. And I think we got some good momentum, and like to keep it going and keep seeing more development on the street. So thank you for your participation this past year, and hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks, you too.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms.
My
Pusak,
job.
I'll second.
support by Mr. Jacobson to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries.